This movie is a huge missed opportunity. You have Chewbacca meeting Han Solo, and you never once, not even once, movie, reference Chewbacca's family? Why the hell did you not bring back Grandpa? Or Mala or Itchy? What the hell's wrong with you? This movie should have been centered around the Wookiee holiday, Life Day.
That's it, I'm turning back. I know your family's waiting. I know it's an important day. That's the spirit. You'll be celebrating Life Day before you know it.
Solo, a Star Wars story, stars Alden Ehrenreich, Woody Harrelson, Donald Glover, Emilia Clarke, and is directed by Ron Howard. And it is, of course, about the early adventures of Han Solo. Basically, we just see how Han Solo got off of his home planet of Corellia and became a smuggler, met Chewbacca, got the Millennium Falcon, and met Lando. That's about sums up the whole movie. So, let's just get into it. Now, in case I haven't made it abundantly clear on this channel yet, I am a huge Star Wars fan. I grew up watching the original trilogy. I grew up also on the prequel trilogy. The original trilogy is still really close to my heart, and I love Star Wars overall. You know, I've liked all three of the previous Disney ones. I have problems with all three of them, but I don't hate any of them. I actually enjoy all three of them. I grew up with the character of Han Solo. Him and Luke Skywalker were two characters that when I was a kid, I looked up to. Yeah, they're fictional characters, but you know what I mean? When you're a kid, you get so enraptured by these stories, and as an adult you can be too, but when you're a kid, it's like something special. It's like you kind of look up to the way those characters are created. I remember there were attributes I was drawn to when I was a kid. Luke he was the brave hero who would go and achieve his dreams, achieve his goals of becoming this hero. But of course, Han Solo, what I was always drawn to was he was the cool guy. He was the guy with the one-liner, the cool guy who had swagger, who would get the girl, and yeah, you know, that was just a fun character to see, especially as a kid. So, you know, I have such attachment to those original films and to those characters. And so, coming into this movie, I will admit I was a little trepidatious because of a couple reasons. Not only are you making a prequel on one of my favorite childhood characters, but based on the history of what was going on recently behind the scenes. Most famously, of course, Christopher Miller and Phil Lord were set to direct this film until they were fired for making the film way too jokey. And they brought in Ron Howard, who's basically a yes-man director, fantastic director. I actually recently watched all of Ron Howard's films and did a podcast. The podcast is not quite finished yet, but I'll post a link to the channel where it will be down below in the description, so you can go check it out. But I like Ron Howard as a director quite a bit, but coming in and replacing other directors, and then there was other stuff like Alden Ehrenreich. There were like stories about he had to have a special acting coach brought in just to teach him how to act. I mean, that's kind of scary. So I was worried about this film going into it, but of course I was going to see it. It's Star Wars. I watch just about every movie I can anyway, so of course I'll go see it. This is the reason it took an extra week for me to get this review up, because I wanted to see it twice. And I gotta say, it's good. It's not great. It's just good. First off, I'll get this out of the way. Alden Ehrenreich is perfectly serviceable as a young Han Solo. He's no Harrison Ford. I knew that going in, but he's definitely no Harrison Ford. But he's fine. I mean, he's got the mannerisms down, but it at times does feel like just someone trying to imitate Han Solo, as opposed to, oh yeah, this is Han Solo. I never really quite got there. But as imitations go, it's not a bad one. It's certainly a pretty good one. It was believable enough. It kept me engaged in the story and into his character, because I was feeling like, for the most part, like, okay, this is young Han Solo, and you can kind of chalk up some of the problems, like, he doesn't quite have the level of swagger yet. Well, you can say, well, he's new, so he's not quite as confident as he'll be later. So, you can kind of chalk up some of the acting issues to that, and that helps, at least, watching the movie. Other acting, Emilia Clarke is actually fine as well. Again, she's not amazing, but she's certainly better than she was as Sarah Connor. And she's fine. She's believable as this love foil for Han Solo. And her arc, or what happens with her character, is believable. And then you have Donald Glover, who, I will say, he is Lando. Watching it again especially, I was noticing he got the voice down perfectly of Billy D. Williams. He is young Lando, even more than Alden Ehrenreich as Han Solo. He was great in this film, honestly. Woody Harrelson and Paul Bettany both did terrific jobs, like I expected they would. Paul Bettany actually does do very well as this kind of threatening villain-esque character that they're doing this heist for, so that he doesn't kill them for failing this other heist. The nice thing about Paul Bettany's character also, he's not in league with the Empire. He's a part of this organization called Crimson Dawn, which is just, they don't establish it quite enough, but they establish it enough where it seems to be just some kind of a smuggling ring, like, really in-depth and run by, well, secret Star Wars spoiler character that people who see it already know. That, I won't get into spoilers in this review, even though it's a week late, but I will say, that reveal was a freaking shock. I know this character, I did not see this character coming back. I wouldn't say I'm upset by it, I was just saying I'm confused by it. But anyway, the reason I like that is because it's its own little organization. The nice thing about this movie is it feels like a small story in the Star Wars universe, which is great. It's such a nice change. It's not, you know, we gotta destroy another Death Star, or defeat the Empire, or fight a Sith Lord, or fight a droid army, or whatever. It's just a heist movie. That's all it is. As far as the action sequences go, because, you know, it's a Star Wars movie, we gotta have those. They were fine. The obvious best one was the Kessel Run, which I'm convinced at this point that they just literally made this movie so they could show the Kessel Run. I mean, come on, that's totally what Disney did when they bought the Star Wars rights. They were like looking for the old movies, like, okay, what can we pull from? Oh, in the title crawl of New Hope, it talks about rebels went and stole the plans of this Death Star and brought them to Princess Leia. Okay, we'll make a movie about that. Oh, now Han Solo talks about making the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs. Alright, why don't we make a movie about that? And that's fine to a point as long as you make it interesting. And I think they made it interesting enough. Problem is, some of the characters I don't really care about. Outside of Han, outside of Woody Harrelson's character, for the most part, he's not the most interesting, but he's fine. Outside of Lando, I don't really care that much about any of them, really. They aren't terrible or anything, it's just I don't feel attachment to them. Like I feel attachment to even like the characters of Rogue One over this movie. I know a lot of people have problems with those characters, and I do too to some extent, but at least like Jyn Erso, I get her character. I get where she's going in her story and how she ends up at the end of that story. Cassian Andor and K2SO, I'm with those characters in Rogue One. Much more than I'm with some of these characters in Solo. There's enough goodwill towards Chewbacca and Han and Lando, of course, that gets me through the movie. A lot of this movie is going to be kind of like forgettable. There's no real standout moment, except for the closest being the Kessel Run. And that might be more just because it's so exciting to finally see this Kessel Run that's been talked about since New Hope came out. And fans have imagined, what is the Kessel Run? Well, we finally get to see it. And it is pretty cool, and it lives up to it. Also, the first half, the pacing was a little off, especially the second time seeing this movie. Once they get to Lando, it picks up immensely. But for the first half or so of the movie, it feels like it's just going through the motions of, we gotta get to the next scene. Okay, let's get to the next scene, to the next scene. And it's like, alright, I don't really care that much. I mean, yeah, sure, when Han meets Chewbacca, yeah, I like that moment. That was a good moment. They actually pulled that off pretty well. It felt believable and organic enough. forced. Also, another thing that was disappointing was Bradford Young, who's the cinematographer for this film. He also did the cinematography for Arrival. Now, if you've seen Arrival, there are beautiful shots in that movie. The cinematography is immaculate. Not so much here. And I think I get, like, go for the dirty, gritty style of the original New Hope. Absolutely. I just wish it's when it's so literally dark. Like, literally, there are shots where it's a little hard to see. And that could be the projector, because both times, I swear the first time it wasn't as bad. I went to a different theater the second time, so I don't know if it's the copy that they got at that theater, if it's the projector or what, but there was certain there were just certain shots that were a little bit darker tinted than others, and that was bothering me. I was like, okay, I want to be able to see the movie. Come on. Back to things I like, though. I like the relationship that forms between Han and Chewbacca. We see how that forms, and again, it feels organic. This feels like how it would have happened, you know, in the universe of Star Wars. And yeah, I don't have a problem with any of that. I don't have a problem with the cuss word. I don't have a problem with how he meets Lando. I think all of that was legit. Now, as you know, there needs to be a droid in every Star Wars film. It's like a law, basically, of Star Wars. But the droid they put in this film, L3, is so freaking annoying. She's basically an SJW droid. Because, you know, SJWs are so not ever annoying. She's basically an SJW droid who wants to free other droids from captivity. On the way in, I'm kind of thinking maybe it's a joke, like a poke fun at SJWs, which I'm all for that. I don't know, though, because it seems odd coming from Disney to kind of poke the bear like that. So, I don't really know. It is satisfying to see the droid blast to shit by a bunch of blasters. I don't really know what they were going for. She's not funny, basically. She's no K2SO. She's no 3PO. If she was funny, I wouldn't have a problem. Like, fine, be an SJW droid. Be funny. She's not even that, though. It's just everything that I think it's supposed to be a joke is just cringy. And, yeah, she's easily the worst part of the movie. All in all, this movie is fine. I would watch it again in a marathon, but I don't think I'd ever watch it on its own again. I feel like I've seen it enough times. It's not the original trilogy. And, of course, I knew it wouldn't be, but it's not even Force Awakens or Last Jedi. It has more problems than those other films. It's not a bad movie, though. It's a competent film. It's an enjoyable film. It's fun. It's just, I wanted a little more from my Han Solo movie. I wanted to feel like I was really seeing Han Solo, and instead it felt like I was watching a fairly well-educated imitation of Han Solo. And that was it. That being said, there's enough good things here, there's enough goodwill I have for this film, that I'm going to give this film barely 3.5 out of 5 stars. Yes, I know I kind of sound like a fanboy because I'm giving it a good star rating, but honestly, I enjoyed this enough. I really did at the time. It's barely getting away because of that Kessel Run, and because Alden Ehrenreich does work against Han Solo. It's barely getting that 3.5 star there. But I gotta say, I enjoyed it enough to give it that rating. Here's hoping Episode 9 is way better. But that's it for my review. Write down in the comments below what you thought of Solo. And check out yet another movie podcast. I'm posting the link in the description below where I will be talking about every Ron Howard film, including this one that has ever had a theatrical release. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.